everybody.
Hi, friends. Well, from beautiful Salt Lake City, Utah.
It's Thank God I'm Atheist,
A podcast exploring religion, politics, and current events from two atheists just trying to survive life in the United States.
I'm Frank Feldman.
And I'm Dan Beecher.
And coming up on the show today, Dan, we have a chat about some comments made by Pope Francis about people needing to have more kids. And
yeah, little Pope Francie Pants is really into population size, and so we're gonna talk about the choice to child.
Yeah, I mean, at least for Catholics to child. I bet he doesn't want everybody to have children, right?
I don't know.
We'll figure that out. We'll get into that.
We'll get there.
But first, we have some news of the week. Some things have happened that need to be discussed. Dan, some things like a city council in New South Wales.
Oh,
right down in Australia. This is in the Sydney area, where the council has done something that shocked me, Dan.
You were shocked?
I was shocked. I was, and in fact, a little horrified to see this coming out of Australia, because they're really treading into America territory with
don't do it.
Some religious crazies.
Turn back. You're going the wrong way.
The council has voted to ban same-sex parenting books from their public libraries. They're not just going for the schools here. They're going for the actual public libraries, where they feel that these books that are written to and for children about same-sex parents. The target audience, I assume, would be children being raised in a same-sex parented household.
Sure.
And it's just too much. It's too much for these the Cumberland City Council and their 8 city libraries. The counselor Steve Christo, he's the one who brought this forward. And he called on the council to take immediate action to rid these books from the library service. He says that they're really disturbing, or that he had received really disturbing constituent complaints, saying parents were distraught to see the book Same-Sex Parents by Holly Duig displayed on a shelf in the children's section of the library. The book explores the experience of having 2 moms or 2 dads, and although it says 2 mums, but we'll look past that.
And forgive them their weirdness.
And features 2 men and a young child on the front cover. And 6 counselors voted in favor of the amendment, 5 voted against. And I guess 4 counselors just weren't there. Who knows how that would have gone if they were there or not. The article doesn't go into that. But Christo says, we're going to make it clear tonight that these kind of books, same-sex parent books, don't find their way to our kids. Our kids shouldn't be sexualized.
Yeah, that's what that is. Sexualizing the kids.
Yeah. Once again, somebody who looks at gay people and can only think about what they do in the bedroom.
Yeah, because it's hot, Frank. What am I supposed to do?
He says this community is a very religious community, a very family-oriented community. They don't want such controversial issues, meaning the parents, going against their beliefs indoctrinated into their libraries. This is not Merrickville or Newtown. This is Cumberland. And I had to look up what Merrickville and where these places are.
they're the places you want to move to, apparently, in Australia.
I was just like, oh, all right. I mean, apparently the people of Cumberland really look askance at the people of Merrickville.
I feel like Merrickville and Newtown need to write a thank you letter to whoever that shitbag is for like give it for promoting their towns.
Oh, anyway, yeah, he keeps saying he goes on and says that toddlers shouldn't be exposed to same-sex content. Hands off our kids, he says.
Dude, I think you're thinking of the church. I don't think you're thinking of same-sex marriages.
Oh my God.
Because they don't want to touch your kids.
Apparently, according to Member of Parliament Linda Volz, who expressed concern about this resolution and who has asked the New South Wales Arts Minister to look into the matter. She says, I'm greatly concerned at the decision of Cumberland Council and believe that it may possibly risk breaching the guidelines for funding of libraries and may also be in breach of the Anti-Discrimination Act, which is a state level law in New South Wales that would bar councils from doing this kind of stuff, apparently. And so there does seem to be some recourse. But yeah, that brand of crazy, boy, you see it kind of like if this was coming to us from, I don't know, Phoenix, right?
Yeah.
I would just be like, I don't even know that I would tell the story because it's par for the course.
Totally
right?
par for the course. Yeah. Alabama, no big deal.
But like coming out of Australia, you're supposed to be better than this. We look to you.
We want to love you, Australia. Please stop. Please don't be like us.
We need you and Canada to help keep us sane.
Oh my God.
The ship has sailed on the UK, like those poor folks. But like, I still am holding out for Australia and Canada.
Oh my God. Yeah, Canada's fast. Everything's going wrong.
Everything is going wrong.
The pendulum will swing the other direction maybe someday. Who knows?
Someday.
Well, I'm going to bring us right back here to these United States and mention a pendulum swing that is fascinating and interesting, and I'm pretty excited about it. And that is a new thing has come out. It is about Southern Baptists, and Southern Baptists they've released, the Southern Baptists in the United States are the largest evangelical church in the U.S.
Mm-hmm.
And they have released their membership numbers for this year, and they're pretty happy because they're doing better than they did in the last several years, which is to say their numbers dropped at a slower rate than they have in the last many years. They are in fucking free fall, and I'm loving it.
They're happy that the purge is slowing down.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, no.
Literally, for 17 straight years, their numbers have dropped.
No way.
And yeah, they peaked in, what was it? 2009, I think. 2003. 2003 was their big peak, where they had 16.3 million members.
Wow.
And it has been dropping ever since. So that now they are, let's see, at under 13 million.
Oh my God.
They've made it down to 12.98.
Holy cow.
So, it was a slower drop last year than they've seen in the last many years. But that's an anomalous sort of thing. We'll see if it levels out at all. It's the lowest it's been since the 70s.
Oh my God.
Back in the days of, basically the last time they were at this level, it was in 1976, bicentennial times.
Oh yeah.
And now they are, and yeah, it's showing no sign of stopping because they're assholes. The thing is, like, it doesn't help when they try to sort of right their ship and they go, oh, okay, you know what? One of the things that we're going to do is address, clergy and staff molestation issues or whatever. And then they just drop the ball on it completely. They announce they're going to do it. They get a big commission together. They make all of this hubbub, and then they do it so badly. And I think a lot of people are like waking up to the fact that, oh yeah, these people they hate gays. They hate, they hate trans people. They're mostly hate, and they can't even be bothered to protect children and vulnerable people from their own clergy. So it's that's good news. They're loud, but there are fewer and fewer of them. And considering the fact that, like, we're not talking about, as a percentage of population, you know what I mean? Like, that means that they've been dropping as a percentage of population. They've been dropping for a lot longer. And the drop is now in that light, because our population is growing quite quickly.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
In light of that, they're dropping like it's a cliff. They're falling off a cliff.
Wow.
And I'm excited about it.
The poor Southern Baptists.
Boo hoo hoo.
Well, I wonder how low it's going to get before it stops.
I have some goals in mind.
All right. Well, I actually have another story about a council of sorts. This one's a board and some books. This is from Texas, coming to us from the Cypress Fairbanks Independent School District.
I'll bet nobody can see where this is going. You mentioned books in Texas. I'll bet everybody's going to be shocked by what you're about to say.
How dare you, Dan? How dare you predict where my story is going? So let's see. The board just voted 6-1 to pull chapters out of textbooks that deal with vaccines, cultural diversity, climate change, depopulation, and basically anything else that's been deemed controversial by this group of conservatives who are in charge of the schools get to make these kind of decisions.
Not controversial in the sense of, like, there's no scientific controversy. There's no controversy within the scientific community.
Oh yeah, no. The controversy is all of their own making.
Yeah, controversial in the sense that, like, we don't like that. We don't like it when you guys do that.
The list of classes that will be impacted include biology, environmental science, earth systems, education, and health science. So basically they're going after the sciences, and they have like an education program where it sounds like students who are interested in becoming teachers can kind of take classes in high school on that topic. Yeah, this
what we definitely don't want is informed teachers. That would be the worst thing. So I'm glad that they've gone after the teachers.
Oh yeah. No, she so the woman who was charged with this, her name is Natalie Blasingame. She's a board member, and it was her job to review these textbooks as part of her role on the district's academics safety, vision, and planning committee. She said that she wanted to omit anything in environmental sciences that had to do with depopulation and anything that says that
what does that mean? Wait,
the preservation of humans is bad. So this is we'll actually be talking about something similar, like what the Pope is saying on the second half of the show. Apparently, their science books raise the question of should, constant human population growth maybe be curbed a little bit. Maybe we should slow some things down a little bit. She says, I can't support anything. Oh, this is actually coming from Todd LeCompte, who's also on the board. He says, I can't support anything teaching our kids about depopulation. And I guess they had already tagged some of these chapters on vaccines, but this has made it official. One section about vaccines begins with the question, why do I need a flu shot every year? This is their controversial content, people.
Yeah.
Another
Thank
section.
God somebody's saying it, because honestly, it feels like there's no one out there just maniacally screaming into the wind about this, and so thank God these heroes have stepped up.
Yeah, and there was, I guess, a chapter about COVID that they were just like, nope. They noped out on that one. There was a section that asks students to explore the impact humans have on the environment and land use.
Oh my God.
Like you don't want anybody especially in Texas. They didn't one of the sprawliest sprawl places ever.
They love it.
They fucking love it. Those cities
That's
just go
their
on
favorite.
fucking ever. Two of their cities, major cities, grew so much, sprawled so much toward each other that they created one city.
Yeah.
Dallas Fort Worth. If you guys haven't experienced it, it is a fucking trip.
The Metroplex.
It's a fucking trip. Anyway, this has to do with that education class I was talking about. In the Principles of Education and Training course, they use a textbook that's just called Teaching. And they've identified 4 chapters to pull from that. Schools and Society, Understanding and Teaching Diverse Learners, Technology for Instruction, and The Challenges of Teaching.
Yeah. I can see why they wouldn't want any of those things to get out.
It's just they're so desperate to try to to shelter their kids from the reality of the world that we live in. And that just is so fucking mind-boggling.
Yeah, it is.
We live in a world with real problems, and we need people who have ideas on how to address this, or at least are receptive to voting for people who will deal with these issues.
Well, and also our only hope for any of this is for us to start raising up smart people who will look at our problems in smart ways, and sheltering and keeping kids away from ideas that contradict your own thinking is the worst possible thing we could do.
Yeah.
Literally. But the thing is that they don't, maybe the problem is just that they don't believe that the answer to any of the questions is people. They believe that the answer to all the questions is their magic friend in the sky.
Yeah, which is the problem. Yeah.
And so they don't want any of these problems solved by people.
Yeah.
Oh my God. It's stupid all the way around. It's ding dongs all the way down. I have a similar story.
Oh, really?
In a little place called, where is it? Winona Lake, Indiana.
Oh, okay.
There is a school called Grace College, and I'm sure we can all predict what kind of great education you can expect to get from Grace College. But here's the thing: a guy by the name of Matthew Warner, who is by all accounts an excellent professor. He was pretty stoked when he got his dream job at Grace College.
Okay.
Now, Grace College is a Christian college, and they do have some sort of profession of faith that is required of all of their, I think, both their students and teachers.
Okay, all right.
Which he was happy to provide. He is a believing, faithful member of some sort of church. He's a Christian.
All right. Okay.
And he went there to teach communications. So he's not a theology professor or whatever. Sure. Anyway, he's fired.
No.
And the reason he's fired is because somebody was digging through his social media.
Oh no.
And found old posts about things like, not hating gays enough and, the lives of black folks mattering and things like that. And even, God forbid, critical posts about the GOP, about the Republican Party. And
oh no.
And yeah, some people found it, and boy, did they scream about it. Suddenly it was just clamoring to save our children, protect the adult children, the kids, from this guy who might actually have slightly different beliefs than you, but is still a fully believing Christian,
right?
But yeah, he made posts like, "I support gay marriage and my pronouns are he, they." Ooh, that's a good one. He, they pronouns. Man, people probably lost their mind when they saw that. And also, and apparently he also posted Tucker Carlson as a fascist. So there you go.
He does sound
awful.
Little too reasonable.
Yeah. He sounds. He has committed the cardinal sin of injecting humanity into his Christianity, and that's not okay. It is not okay.
It's not what anybody wants these days.
Yeah. Apparently, one mother, Monica Boyer, who has a kid at Grace College, wrote, quote, "I am officially," and that's her emphasis, not mine, as she in all caps. "I am officially calling on Grace College to fire this professor immediately."
Oh
also her emphasis. What do you think makes it official, Monica? What's official about that? Is it just like, you don't have any standing with shut up.
You don't know Monica. Monica clearly do not know Monica. Damn.
I want to know how many of her posts are unofficial. How many of her screeds where she like goes off about this, that, and the other? Because Monica's a screeder.
She's like, this is off the record, everybody.
Right. She's got some that are official and others that are like more casual. I casually demand that Grace College fire this guy. Anyway, dude's fired.
Oh, all right. Well, that's I guess too bad.
I don't know. Go find a job at a real school.
Yeah.
If you're a good teacher, go teach at a good school.
I know. He really liked the values and the community, the people. They're so nice. And
I hope he's learned his lesson. I hope he has learned a valuable lesson. I mean, one of the tweets that he did that everybody was so up in arms about was, what, quote, "When Christendom is conservative, it ceases to be transformative," which is a great line and maybe should have been a bit of a warning sign for you, buddy.
Wow.
But I'm guessing he thought if he went there, he could do exactly what these parents are terrified that he'd do and have some influence over some kids.
Right. Oh, good God. All right. Well, Dan, here's a topic that comes up a lot on this show. And that's the growing number of non-believers in the United States, or this sort of category that's being called the religious nuns, right? NONES. which I hope people...
We always have to spell it because
I know.
It always sounds like we're talking about ladies in funny clothes.
Right. But it's been quite the phenomenon to watch. Essentially the this category of religiously unaffiliated people, just as recently as the 1970s, really was only about 5% of the U.S. population. And that number started to increase in the 90s slowly and has now seems to be really picking up and has reached this number of 30% of the country, right?
Yeah.
Is saying that they're religiously unaffiliated. And this has been great news to us. And but it's also been something that has needed a lot of parsing out. And we've talked about some different studies that have looked kind of like define what are these different groups that are making up the nuns, right?
Well, yeah, because there are so many ways of asking these questions. We see polls where it's like self-reporting from the religions, which is worthless. And then we see polls which is, self-reporting by people.
Right.
But those are tricky because so many people will be like, in their minds, they don't believe in Catholicism. They don't care about it, but they were raised Catholic. Their family's Catholic. It's their community. So they just go, yeah, I'm Catholic or whatever. Like, it's not as easy as just saying, hey, what religion are you? Because there's so many ways that that gets answered differently.
Correct. And the way that this group is being broken down, this religiously unaffiliated, it's categories like agnostic or no religion or nothing in particular, none, atheist, right? So forth and so on. And even amongst us, right, when some of these different words come up, we don't agree. Like internally, as unaffiliated people, we don't all agree on what agnostic means versus atheist, right?
Right.
And why I choose to use the word atheist to describe myself is probably going to be a fairly different reason, right? For a lot of different atheists, right? So according to this article, it's coming from a group of social scientists who are trying to parse this out. So it's saying that about 17% of religiously unaffiliated people say that they're atheist. And so they're really asking the question of who is likely to identify as an atheist, right? And because when they ask the questions like whether or not somebody believes in God, they get a much higher number than the number of people who say they're atheists. It's actually twice the number of people in this study are willing to say that they don't believe in God than are actually willing to say they're atheists. So that's really interesting. Now, it will come as no surprise that one of the reasons that they are proposing for this is the stigma associated with the word.
Yeah. I will remind our listeners of the poll that came out many years ago that had people trusting rapists more than they trusted atheists.
Yeah.
At that time. That may have thawed a little bit since then.
That particular pairing, it wouldn't be quite the same, hopefully, anymore. But pairing atheists alongside communists or racists, it's still that's sort of the category that people put us in, or the sort of the where we are on that spectrum of disliked groups and peoples and whatnot. And so at this point in this discussion, my mind is just racing toward, this is the importance of atheists being visible, right? And that we need probably a stronger visibility movement, because and the people need to see more people that they would that they like, that they would aspire to be like, right? Good people who just gladly and happily use the word atheist to describe themselves. I've always liked it because I feel like it is a very definitive word, right? Like there's no misunderstanding my stance right?
Right.
When I say that I'm atheist, right? Where if you're one of the people who feel better and more comfortable using the word agnostic, which a lot of people do, as being something different from being an atheist, I understand why you would do that. But I understand why. But one of the statistics that they had, and I just kind of want to read this section because this has to do with this idea of of stigma, right? And this idea that being an atheist comes with social cost, right?
Yeah.
And that's going to be more exaggerated in certain communities. And so they looked at political conservatives, right? Who are less likely to identify as an atheist, even if they do not believe in God. Just under 39% of individuals identifying as extremely conservative who say they do not believe in God identify as an atheist. This compares with 72% of individuals identifying as extremely liberal who say they did not believe in God. So
yeah, I guess that doesn't surprise me.
It doesn't surprise me either, but I think it's notable. I think it's something that's worth kind of thinking about and being aware of, because like and I'm talking about you and me, Dan, I'm talking about who I assume a lot of our listeners are politically liberal, right? And we get into this headset that our fellow atheists, the two are like, if you draw that Venn diagram, right, of what it means to be politically liberal and atheist, we just assume that that atheist circle is almost entirely consumed by politically liberal, right?
And I'm guessing it's pretty. That's the lion's share for sure, right? It's got to be.
Yeah, but there is this. I believe I remember the article referencing the non-believers in the pews, right? That there are a lot. I can't find it right now, but that there are a lot of people who are still going to church and who are going to say that they're Baptist or Mormon or Catholic, right? But who are sitting there going, I don't know.
I'm less and less comfortable with this. I'm less and less okay with
this. But who surprisingly also might be just perfectly fine going to church, right? Yeah. It's their social world. It's their tradition, their family's steeped in it. It's just the world that they come from, right? Yeah. And they're okay with it because everything's working for them, right? And that was another thing that the article kind of pointed out, is that, and this goes for the atheists in particular, and the people who are willing to say they're atheists, is most likely everything else is going pretty well. There's a socioeconomic factor that plays into people who say they're atheist. That there's a larger percentage of there's a large percentage of atheists who are sort of on a higher socioeconomic situation, right? Because again, those things, they have, what did they call it? Existential security, right? That faith can provide existential security in a similar way that wealth can, right?
In societies that don't have solid social safety nets provided by a government, which is what should be happening.
Correct. Yeah. But also there's just a sense that there's that a higher income reduces the need to believe in supernatural forces in the first place. Right. Which is why you see atheism start to emerge in wealthier nations, right? Yeah. In general, but also they looked at Black, Asian, and Hispanic Americans and how those groups or people in those groups are far less likely to identify as an atheist than white people. And it all plays part in this, like, if your sense of security, your sense of being well established, right? The more you have of that, the easier it is to come out and say, I'm atheist.
That is interesting to me. There's a privilege component that we don't talk about a lot.
We don't.
And maybe we really need to start talking about the privilege component of atheism, because it's working for those of us who it's working for. And And then there's a group of people that there are like lots of people who don't have the privilege that we have. So that's interesting.
Yeah.
That's a conversation we need to have more of. I need to chew on that for a little bit.
All right. Well, good.
It's not something I've paid enough attention to. All right. Well, Frank, I'm going to take us not to a place, but to a time.
Oh, okay. I'm excited.
Back to your childhood.
Okay.
Do you remember being a young Frank Feldman and out there in a cute little uniform, learning to tie knots?
I loved it.
Back when men were men and boys were boys, and the Boy Scouts of America was a grand institution that we had no idea was wildly problematic at all. Or at least somewhat problematic. Here's the thing. The Boy Scouts of America has been, not unlike the Baptists, losing members pretty dramatically.
That's not surprising.
Back in our day, back in 1972, a little before our day, the BSA had 5 million members.
Oh, wow.
Today, membership is just over 1 million.
Wow.
So that's a pretty precipitous drop, especially again as it relates to population, because that's a much smaller piece of the young pie, of the kids' pie. Here's the thing. In the last many years, since about 2013, they have been slowly dragging their heels, but slowly, and getting with the program in terms of, first, gay kids were being allowed to be scouts, and then gay leaders were allowed,
right.
And then trans boys were allowed back in 2017,
mm-hmm.
And then in 2019 they decided to allow girls to be scouts.
Oh no, that's just too much, Dan.
Well, I mean, it's too little too late, considering the Girl Scouts of America has been much more inclusive for much longer and is much awesomer as an organization. But they're trying, and I give the Boy Scouts credit. They're trying so much to be inclusive that they are rebranding, Frank.
Oh.
They are changing their name to Scouting America.
Oh.
You don't like it?
Scouting America.
Yeah.
For what?
Yeah, exactly. What are you looking for? Well, I can tell you what they're not looking for. And that is still, even though they're literally rebranding entirely to try and say, just to talk about openness. Like, the whole point is that is that they are being inclusive. Inclusivity is their new thing. And guess who's still fucking not included?
Oh, no.
Everyone listening to this goddamn show.
Oh, they still have the I believe in God crap?
Yep. They're still not okay. You still gotta believe in God.
Why would they hold on to that at this point?
It's so fascinating. They literally in the Scout manual, there's a thing for chaplains. They have a manual for chaplains and chaplain aides.
Okay.
And in that, this is on their scouting.org website. It says there is a declaration of religious principle, in which they say the BSA, which will soon no longer be the BSA, maintains that no member can grow into the best kind of citizen without recognizing an obligation to God, and therefore recognizes the religious element in the training of the member, blah, blah, blah.
Ah, God damn it.
Yeah.
It's so, like, the thing about Boy Scouts, or Scouting US, or whatever it is, like, I had such a good time, right?
Yeah.
Like, I loved it. I really loved, like, camping and the activities and the, I mean, it was always a pain in the butt to like work on some merit badge, but that was also cool too, because like you're being exposed to things,
you're learning stuff,
and it was just, I don't know. I had a great time, and it's been one of the more painful things, I think, is sort of realizing what a horrible organization.
Yeah,
that thing that gave me such wonderful experiences as a kid, how just kind of I look at it now as just like this really distasteful, organization. Yeah. And it's cool, I guess, that they're getting more and more inclusive, but the fact that like religion and belief in God has just like continued to permeate through the whole thing, when that was never what it was about for me as a kid, right? Like,
no.
It's just,
it was for me, it was inextricably tied to religion, because the BSA really did intertwine themselves with religion. So specifically, I think Catholicism, they were really, they had a very incestuous relationship with, and Mormonism.
Oh yeah.
So as I was growing up, like, you went to church on Sunday, and then you went to Scouts on whatever day you did Scouts. And that was just like, it was just expected. It wasn't something that if you were interested in camping, you signed up for. It was just something that you did because it was a church thing.
Right. But you had religion on Sunday and you had fun on Wednesday.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And so while, it was at, the Ward House, and it was part of being a Mormon kid and completely expected of you as a Mormon kid.
Yeah.
Like it still was the good thing in growing up Mormon.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because
as
church on Sunday was not the good thing.
as long as you're not one of the 82,000 people who filed lawsuits as victims of sexual predation.
Well, yeah, there was that, but
that again, that's the other thing is, and
the things you become aware of as an adult.
Yeah, I didn't mention that, but that they didn't handle that well at all either.
Yeah.
They probably because they were used to the religious model.
Yeah.
Of like, hide it, don't talk about it, don't look at it.
Yeah.
Just shuffle it away or whatever. So I don't think that scouting is I kind of lament that kids these days don't have something like that. Because I wouldn't put my kids in Scouting America.
No way.
There's Camp Quest, everybody. I'm just going to remind people that Camp Quest exists. And they're probably doing a great job. I don't have any kids to put in it, so I don't know how good it is, but I assume it's fucking awesome.
Yeah.
So look it up. There's probably still time to sign up your kids for summer Camp Quest. So do that. And there you go. Well, if you would like to tell us about why you think we should revise our ideas about the scouting or something, feel free to write into us, podcast@thankgodimatheist.com.
Yeah, or maybe you're as not conflicted, but have weird feelings about those things from your past. Call us and tell us about it. The telephone number is 424-666-8442. Stick around. There's more show coming up.
Well, Frank, we had some folks write into us, so
yeah,
let's see what we got here. This is from Sam, who says, "Hello, my fellow Exmos. Thanks to your podcast, after 35 years as a Mormon, then 8 years as an atheist, I am now a member of the Satanic Temple.
Woohoo!
My mom would be so proud. Just in case you haven't seen, TST is going to build a new abortion clinic, and we have a chance to vote on or submit a name for it."
Yeah.
Sam says, if you're not opposed to promoting it, here's it is an awesome cause. And you can go to their website, thesatanictemple.com, or Google name our abortion site. That's fun.
Yeah.
That's just good, clean fun, naming an abortion clinic.
Yeah, no kidding.
To be clear, we at it is not the official position of Thank God I'm Atheist that we are, we're not members of the Satanic Temple.
No.
But we appreciate the position that they fill in our society.
Totally. Yeah.
So go and help name the clinic. I think that's delightful and cute.
Yeah, I mean, the Ronald Reagan abortion clinic,
right?
Or
the Nancy Reagan
abortion clinic.
Yeah.
I'm sure you guys can come up with something. Yeah.
The Mike Pence's fly abortion clinic.
Oh no! All right. Well, that's great.
Well, Chris wrote into us to say, "Hi guys, I'm a trans man, and both my birth state and state of residence would allow me to have my birth certificate changed with a simple letter from my physician and a fee. However, the year I found out about that was the year that North Carolina attempted their bathroom bill version. So stubborn me said, hell no, I'm not going to do that until everyone can.
Aw.
One of the reasons I kept my original birth certificate is in case I ever get to annoy officials by suing them when they inevitably will force me to break the law. North Carolina repealed before I had a chance, but now Utah is so much closer. So my question is, personal risk for me aside, would a stunt like that be an overall benefit, or would it lead to more backlash against the community? I was lucky, and I assume that what Chris is saying is like, go into whatever bathroom would cause a hubbub and then get arrested
and cause a hubbub.
And cause a hubbub, yeah.
Yeah.
Chris goes on to say, I was lucky enough to live my formative years during the 80s in Europe, where the AIDS crisis was handled more sensibly and led to easier acceptance of the LGBT community. I faced zero adversity in my transition, and I didn't lose friends, and I feel, if anything, gained the respect and support of some unexpected sources. All that to explain that I'm angry enough that I would like to pull the stunt, but also not dumb enough to do this on my own. So do you guys know of anyone who would at least consider this a possibly beneficial little piece of political theater? And if you do, would you maybe connect this person with me? I get it. I think there is some personal danger, Chris, in taking a risk like that.
Yeah. Yeah,
I
sure.
do think that as a trans man, I think that's an interestingly different position. And I don't pretend to be familiar with all of the nuances of transness. I have several trans friends, but that doesn't mean I'm up on everything that happens in the world of the trans folk. But I think it's interesting that what I would say that you do is you don't need to break the law. You go into the bathroom that it says on your birth certificate, and then you're a man just going into a bathroom. And trans men, I'm guessing you probably have a beard. Trans men get testosterone and then start looking a lot like a guy. And I think that is an interesting thing, because I don't think that I think it's clear that when conservatives think of trans people, they think of trans women. Mm-hmm. They think of men or people assigned male at birth who then transition to women. And I don't think that they have a view in their minds of very masculine looking people obeying the law by going into the women's restroom.
That's a really interesting take on it, Dan. That it's like, you would not even necessarily have to break the law
No, you have to obey the law.
To cause the hubbub.
Right.
Right. Like, because otherwise that's actually, because I was seeing it from the other way, which was some civil disobedience, right? And going in and breaking the law to show how dumb the law is. But it seems like you can show how dumb the law is without even breaking the law.
Yeah, exactly. Now the danger is that, like,
you want the media there. You want someone, you need to, like, this needs to be staged. It needs to be, like, not staging the reactions, but it's known when you're going to be going into the bathroom and somebody's there to document it. Right.
And you get 5 or 6 other trans guys with you.
Yeah. The problem is you couldn't take cameras into the bathroom, but
you just make sure that there's somebody outside the bathroom, and you let the cops know. You're just like, hey, I'm going in here just so that you guys know.
Yeah.
See if they arrest you.
Well, but on what grounds?
What you don't want to do is just do it. Because if you just do it, you risk actually, like, someone freaking out and beating you up or something.
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
There's violence there.
Yeah.
So yes, make it political theater. Make sure that the right people are watching.
Yeah.
And be clear about it. Yeah.
Well, and then the thing that Chris is asking for is for a connection. So I would just do a call out to our listeners who maybe have some experience with a little bit of political theater. Right.
Yeah. If you know something that Chris needs to know, you can write that into us, podcast@thankgodimatheist.com.
Yeah, and
or if you want to join Chris in his trip to the bathroom, let us know. We'll hook you up, I guess. And then finally, Adam has written into us to say, "Hey, Frank and Dan, I was amused at the story from episode 647 about the priest who had spent tens of thousands of dollars, which belonged to his church, on his phone gaming addiction. It's sad that he fell into this, and I was glad to hear that he was seeking therapy and felt the moral compulsion to repay what he had taken. Whether the world would be better if he repaid the funds is a completely different matter. There's a point I wish you two had brought up. In most, if not all, cases of child molestation within the Catholic Church, when the offense was discovered, the priests were not offered up to secular/government prosecution for their crimes. Instead, the church found it appropriate to hide the evidence, move priests to new parishes, and prevent legal recourse. In short, when the church gets robbed by clergy, it seeks legal action. When the church is liable, it gets buried to prevent justice. I think that's a valid point.
That is.
Stop using our justice system that you don't pay for when it pleases you, and then hiding from it when you think it should be handled internally.
Yeah.
You don't get to have it both ways.
Yeah.
And yet they do. They do get to have it both ways.
Well, yeah, I mean, they have to protect their money. They have to protect their money, Dan.
Yeah, they do. They do. There you go. Do we have anybody to thank?
We do indeed, Dan. We have 3 new patrons on Patreon. We have a new deacon by the name of Claire. Thank you, Claire. We have a new priest by the name of AJ. Thank you, AJ.
Amazing. Thank you.
And we have a new prophet, seer, and revelator.
What?
By the name of Michael.
Michael. Oh, Archangel Michael. Our prophet, seer, and revelator. Peace be upon him.
Yeah. And
that's amazing.
Yeah. And if you'd like to join these kind folk in supporting the show, please do so. You can go to our website, thankgodimatheist.com/donate. And as always, Dan, we have our top donor to thank, our Lord and Savior, Davis.
More show coming up. Well, Frank,
Dan,
I sent you an article from Religion News Service.
Yeah.
Which, by the way, had a picture on it of the Pope kissing a extremely distressed baby.
This kid knows what he's doing.
The kid's like, no, why are we doing this? No, please do not offer me up to the lips of this weird man in white.
Oh, poor
anywho,
kid. I mean, I've seen a lot of pictures of kids crying on Santa's lap.
Yeah.
This is even more distressed somehow than he has no idea what's going on.
This child has a look. It's not just upset. It's more that it's terror.
Yeah.
It's actual terror. Anywho, this child is like, if I were to meet a pope or the bear in the woods, which would I choose? I think bear. Anywho, that's a reference to a social media thing that you're probably not even aware of.
All right.
Anywho, here's the thing. The Pope has called on Catholics of the world to not stop having babies. The Pope, here's a direct quote from the Pope. I know that for many of you, the future may seem unsettling. I assume it's seem. In the article it says see, but I think that's just a typo. The future may seem unsettling, and that between falling birth rates, wars, pandemics, and climate change, it's not easy to keep hope alive. But don't give up. Have faith, because tomorrow is not something inevitable. We build it together, and together we find first and foremost with the Lord.
We find this,
and this together we find for, I don't know, what is he saying there? Anyway, what he gets to is that he thinks that that people should have babies.
Yeah, more babies. We got a lot of bored priests on our hands.
Well, oh my God, it's first of all, when these priests, especially Catholic clergy, it's different for different religions, but when Catholic clergy start weighing in on parenthood, marriage, all this shit that they themselves have sworn never to do,
right?
It rings a little hollow for me. It's just,
it feels
shut up, virgin. You don't know what you're talking about.
But I mean, you kind of are pointing out the obvious. If they want more babies, they have a bunch of people just sitting on the benches. Right? Who could otherwise be out making babies.
Put me in the game, coach. I'm ready. Oh my God.
Both male and female, right? They set up a service, get the priests with the nuns.
Right.
Get some really Catholic babies born.
Yeah.
These will be the most Catholic of all the babies.
Yeah. Here's the thing. I don't want to be entirely cynical about this. But when I think about why churches are so keen for their people to have babies, when I think of the Quiverful movement in the US, when I think of Mormonism pushing people to have lots and lots of kids, when I think of Catholicism and all this stuff, yes, there is a biblical verse that says, multiply and replenish the earth. That was an edict given to, I believe, checks his notes, Adam and Eve, right? Or early people back when there was theoretically nobody. I don't think that it can be said that the earth still needs replenishment of humans. There's just so many of us.
There are a lot.
Way too many of us, as a matter of fact, already. I know that a lot of people will now get mad at me because I don't think that we need to grow population. I think we should curb population growth. And I know a lot of people have economic reasons why they think we shouldn't. And I don't think those hold up to scrutiny, but that's okay. intelligent people may differ. But I do think that the conversation needs to change.
Right.
And the fact is that the conversation on people having kids has been led by the religious for way too long. And I guess the cynical thing that I was getting to is that, like, it's the best way to get new Catholics. It's the best way to get new Mormons is to raise them up.
Yeah. You get to make new Catholics, right?
Yeah.
It's a lot harder to attract Catholics, new Catholics.
Talking adults into believing your weirdness is harder, is way harder than just indoctrinating.
It is time well spent from the church's perspective, right?
Yeah.
Like, let's get more babies so we can have more Catholics. And let's get this. It's a numbers game ultimately, right? Like, we don't want to lose out to Islam, right?
Right.
Like,
they're winning. Oh no.
They're making more babies. We need to make more babies.
Yeah.
I will say this, atheists need to make more babies. I don't want to undercut your argument here, Dan.
Don't do it.
But we need more rational, reasonable people in the world. And if all the rational, reasonable people in the world look at the world and go, the rational and reasonable thing to do is to not have babies.
Look, we'll just convert them. It's fine. Now, here's the thing. I am not saying that people should stop having kids. And I'm not saying that having kids is a immoral thing or a problem or whatever. What I'm saying is that the conversation needs to change entirely. I think that the default should be you start by saying, no, I won't have kids. And then you go over reasons why you might want to. Like, you start from the negative position and then explore from that position rather than the other way around. It has been the other way around since time immemorial. And we don't need to be thinking that way anymore.
So you're saying we need to just put everybody on birth control.
No.
From day one.
No.
And only let people have kids when they've come forward with a good reason.
When they have written an essay that is then deemed by a team of adjudicators to be a valid and positive reason why they should be allowed to have children. Yes. That's not what I'm saying. But what I am saying is that if we say, if the question isn't when you have kids, you will do X, Y, and Z when we talk to children. But if you choose to have kids, then you can X, Y, and Z. That's a very different position to take. And I think that it's more responsible. And I think that we need to start talking to children and young people, not as though they're definitely going to have children and it would be an abomination or an anomaly if they didn't, but as though it is a choice for them to make when they're ready. And I think that's that's important. But the church, it's amazing. They talk about it being selfish to not have children.
Well, I mean, think of everything you get to do, Dan, because you don't have kids.
Yeah.
And that wasn't part of the equation for you?
I love that part of it. But that's not selfish. It's not selfish to not have kids. I think, because if that's how we're going to do it, if it's like you like that lifestyle and therefore you're choosing it and that's selfish, then all the people who like the lifestyle of being a parent, which are plenty of them,
right,
are also being selfish.
Yeah. Being selfish. People are selfish all the time. I'm selfish all the time, right? I think about myself all the fucking time, right?
Obviously, you're selfish all the time, but I'm just saying serving one's own interest and like crafting the life that you want to live,
right,
isn't selfishness. Because a lot of people, crafting the life that they want to live involves doing service for other people and giving to charity and stuff.
Selfish.
It's not. it's good to serve one's own interests and needs. That's good.
Yeah.
That's how you have a fulfilling, happy life.
But Dan, it's selfish when you're doing things for yourself that I don't want you doing.
Right. Or when you're not doing the thing that I specifically told you I wanted you to do.
You get chastised for just being yourself and doing your thing. Right. I guess that's probably more the direction I was going. But
anyway, it is fascinating that literally the highest profile non-child haver in the world.
Hey, everybody else
is like, you can't be more hypocritical than being a loudly professed like perpetual bachelor and then being like, y'all need to have more kids.
For me.
For me. Yeah. Do it for me.
I'm not being selfish.
Yeah. Look, these aren't my rules. These are rules given by a virgin from 2,000 years ago.
Yeah.
These are Jesus's rules, who theoretically was also childless. So there you go.
Yeah. Well,
anyway,
see what happens. I mean, it is and always seems to be that the people who actually should be having kids aren't, right?
Yeah.
And the people who maybe shouldn't be, so many times, right? The people that are just like popping. It's the introduction sequence to Idiocracy, right?
Yep.
Where, you have this like educated, professional, well off, right, couple who sitting there just they keep putting it off, and then finally it's like, oh well, so and so he died in, it's just the woman now, right? He died in a such and such accident, but I had some eggs, I had some of his sperm, fingers crossed, right? While you have Billy Bob over there just like running around,
cranking them out,
getting multiple women pregnant, everybody's spitting out kids, and you end up with the movie Idiocracy. Yeah. And I mean, it's somehow, that this has to have been the formula for time immemorial, right? Of people sitting around complaining about, but the people who should be having kids aren't, right? And somehow we're still where we are. We're still, which I don't know if that's an indictment or a reason why everything will be okay in the future. But yeah,
I think it's going to be fine. I think, but yeah, not only should I believe that our friends listening at home should not feel pressured to have kids.
Oh, see, I disagree.
I think that
you guys are the ones who should be having kids.
I feel strongly that if you want to have kids, you smart people listening to this show, yes, I think it would be great if you guys were the ones raising the kids, and I know many of you are.
See, and a lot are, and it's wonderful, and what lucky kids, right? To be growing up with reason and whatnot being what guides their parents.
Oh my God, when I meet someone who's like, oh no, I was just raised atheist, I'm like, oh, you have no idea. You lucky son of a bitch. You have no idea the decades of like detangling and deprogramming that is required from those of us who weren't so lucky.
Yeah.
Alas.
But anyway, I just want to reiterate, Dan's message is don't have kids, everyone.
Yeah, exactly. It's immoral. It's immoral to bring a child into the world. Dan Beecher, that's my message.
And my message is, Dan, that it's a fucking horse race with the Catholics. So get out there, people.
Exactly. Frank's message is you have to have kids, and probably, if you can figure out how to, sterilize your Catholic neighbor in some way.
The Okay. First part, yes. Second part, not so much.
Okay. Well, Frank, I think we've given everyone a lot to be furious about. So I would like to hear what our listeners have to say about this subject. Please feel free to write into us, podcast@thankgodimatheist.com.
Yeah, tell us. I mean, I want to hear from the parents. So tell us, why you chose to bring some children into the world, into this wonderful, wonderful world. The telephone number is 424-666-8442.
Hey, if you'd like to support the show, we'd love to have you. Please go to thankgodimatheist.com/donate to become a patron or to support us over on PayPal.
Our show is edited by Roger Gowdy. Music is by the Red Rock Hot Club and by Gordon Johnston.
Hey, thanks to y'all for tuning in. We sure do appreciate you.
Bye-bye.
Thank God I'm Atheist is a production of TGIA Media, LLC, copyright 2024, all rights reserved.